The next step in the process now sees the municipality jumping on the bandwagon, kowtowing to a minority of complainers and drafting a firearms bylaw in order to alleviate a perceived threat of danger. The fact that the municipality has the authority through provincial legislation to draft bylaws restricting the discharge of firearms seems to be the precipitating factor that got the ball rolling. Like other municipalities are doing it, maybe we should do it too.
As a direct result of the mandatory training required to hunt in Ontario, hunting accidents are almost non-existent. This is a fact. With approximately 470,000 licensed hunters in Ontario, the accident rate over a 5-year span from 2017 to 2022 is 0.0007%. On March 21st, 2024, the municipality released a notice of public meeting on their website to discuss the potential creation of a bylaw to regulate the discharge of firearms. In that notice, listed under exemptions, was a clause when lawfully hunting as per the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Act. Shortly thereafter, as in within the next 24 hours, the municipality released an amended notice of public meeting on their website, which had removed that same exemption. The actions taken to remove the exemption, which was the only change to that document, clearly indicates by the municipality's own admission that this has everything to do with hunting and little to do with public safety.
Hunting is critically important to the people who participate in it. Canada has enjoyed a rich, historic culture of safe firearms ownership, hunting, and conservation since before Confederation. It is a way of life for many people right here in Trent Hills Township and has been practiced safely and without issue for generations. Hunting is a Section 35 right for Indigenous peoples and is protected for all Canadians as part of our Canadian heritage in the House of Commons. I understand tonight's meeting is to discuss changes to the discharge of firearm bylaws in this area, a very serious issue that, despite what other people may say, would have an impact on the lifestyle and food source for many of your constituents. Hunting provides ethically sourced nutrition to families from a variety of renewable resources, including waterfowl. Hunting and firearms ownership is tightly regulated in Canada, as you know, and the results speak for themselves. Despite the objections of those opposed to hunting in this area, your own township record shows that there is no disproportionate risk to public safety. I ask Council to take into consideration the prospect of denying your citizens the ability to source healthy, affordable, self-sourced nutrition, especially during these strained economic times.
I run a website called Armalytics.ca, which gives the public a place to search the RCMP's firearms reference table, so I'm very familiar with firearms. I disagree greatly with the idea of putting strict limits on certain things, 300 meters, 2.5 acres, 150 meters from a dwelling. As a community, we should be able to give people the agency to make the decisions that they want to, as long as they're shooting firearms safely, which I know the vast majority of firearms, almost all firearms owners do that. We need to allow them to make those decisions. Perhaps they're on 2 acres, but it's adjacent to agricultural land, and they have an agreement with the farmer. They want to shoot a 22 at a backstop that's safe on the back of their property, despite the fact that their property is only 2 acres. Somebody might have a good grove of trees where turkeys come through. It might be 100 meters away from their house. There's nothing that should prevent them from shooting that if the direction they're shooting is safe. If they are not shooting in a safe direction, the criminal code already has the tools needed to prosecute that person with careless use of a firearm.
This stuff has to stop. Everybody used to be community, but you can't even talk to community without fear of repercussions or somebody having a discussion with a neighbor. And we all need to go back to the mentality of how it was before, how it's always been, and take care of community. Another law is not going to solve this. Gun clubs are getting shut down left, right, or center.
My wife and I recently moved to the area with our young son in February, and part of the decision to choose the area was the lack of firearms bylaws. We bought 52 acres, and the house sits about a third of the way up the property. So if you limit us to 100 meters, 150 meters, that means I can't hunt almost anywhere on my property. I can't target shoot and become a better hunter just about anywhere on my property. I think it's very unnecessary. Everybody's very safe with their firearms. I hear people target shooting all the time on the weekends, and I kind of enjoy hearing it because we just moved from Cambridge, and if you heard gunshots around there, it was usually a bad thing.
I've been a hunting guide in the area for about 30 years, and one of the things that really scared me and probably a lot of these people is that you remove the exemption for hunting in Trent Hills. Cottages have just kept coming and coming and coming, and we've had our waterfowl hunting spots for 2 decades, 3 decades, and now they're complaining that they're saying you're too close or the noise. If they don't like it in the country, then they should go back to the city.
I put in 31 years for the OPP. I did everything from a radio dispatcher, constable, detective. I was the first detective appointed in Trent Hills. When I retired, I taught firearm safety when they brought in the new regulations. I was qualified to teach hunter safety and test people. We didn't have all these houses on duck hunting property, and Napan Island is a good one. That was a real good place to duck hunt. And if they put in lots all the way along the water, you're going to get more complaints because that's where they hunt. You know, you can't expect to come out here and change the world.
When you guys throw this out there, all it does is set off alarm bells to anybody that hunts or sport shoots or target shoots, because the way they've been treated by federal government over the last God knows how many years, we're the most heavily regulated, enforced. We have more rules and regulations than any other law-abiding group in this country. And every time the government says they're going to do something, it isn't long until they turn around. We're not going to ban your handguns. Oh, they take them away. You're not going to take your hunting rifles. Now they take some of them away. So it's too bad it had to come to this, but it's a lot of mistrust. That's probably one of the reasons why there's so many people here.
I've got the proper training, I got the proper license, and I'm doing what I'm allowed to do by right. If you guys are gonna ban that for somebody that owns on the water, then I recommend that council should give them a discount on their taxes, because that's why they bought the property on that water to do their hunting.
I mean, it's very cut and dried as far as I'm concerned. It's all in our law. We all are vetted we're being vetted right now. If any of us say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, any one of us can lose our license. It's very simple. And I don't know how many of you guys hunt, but I mean, you should look into it a little bit deeper.
I think, unfortunately, this is one of those cases where you're trying to use a sledgehammer to put in a two-penny nail.
So stupid people are going to do stupid things no matter what laws you make. You won't change that.
Provincial and federal laws and knowledgeable enforcement agencies are already in place to deal with the safe use of firearms and hunting activities. In short, we don't need this bylaw. It will just be another burden to the taxpayers of Trent Hills. Therefore, we respectfully request that Trent Hills Council do the right thing and immediately drop the development of this unnecessary firearms bylaw that is targeting law-abiding firearms owners and hunters in our community.
Read your sign up there. Come for a visit, stay for a lifestyle. Lifestyle in Campbellford is hunting.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Hello. If I can get everyone's attention, it's 6 o'clock and we're going to get things going. Can turn up. So everyone, thank you. We're going to get the meeting going. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. We'd like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land, and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation, with a formal territorial acknowledgement. Welcome to the Gunshot Treaty lands of 1788. It is on these lands and on the shores of the Big Lake, the Mississauga Anishinaabeg met with the Crown to facilitate the opening of these lands for settlement. Let us be reminded of the responsibility we all have in making sure that we respect these lands and waters that give us life and sustain our livelihoods. This is a public meeting. It's being conducted in person, and members of the public may attend in person or participate virtually. The meeting will be live streamed on the municipality's meeting portal and YouTube channel. The video recording will be uploaded to the Municipality of Trent Hills website following the meeting. To go to our approval of the agenda, it is recommended that the agenda of the public meeting of May 7th, 2024 be received and approved. Can I get a mover? Councillor Pope, Mayor Crate, all those in favor? And that is carried. Do we have any disclosures of interest this evening? Seeing none. We only have one agenda item for this public meeting. The purpose of this meeting is for council members to formally hear and receive public comments. The intent of the public meeting is to receive public feedback and incorporate it into a recommendation report from staff. No decisions will be made during this meeting. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Interested members of the public will be given an opportunity to provide comment with respect to the creation of a bylaw to regulate the discharge of firearms. All persons addressing council must state their full name and their address and must direct their comments through the chair. Any information you provide at the public meeting will be disclosed in a public record. If you missed the live meeting, had technical issues, or prefer to submit comments following the public meeting, you may email your comments to planning@trenthills.ca. The municipality requires these comments no later than 7 days after this meeting to ensure the comments can be received by staff prior to preparing a final report and recommendation to be heard at a future council meeting. That's all the technical stuff. There was probably going to be a lot of people that are wanting to speak. We've set it up a little bit different this evening. Usually I would keep a speakers list. What I'm going to ask to do, we should have enough space to line up at the podium to allow to speak at that time. And I will also keep track. We may have some people online as well, so we may be going to online as well as in person for speaking. Okay. Just as a reminder to individuals attending the meeting virtually or online, please turn off your video and mute your microphone until staff have concluded presenting the bylaw you wish to speak to. Turn on your video when you wish to speak so that I may see that you are there and ensure that you're visible to myself. Unmute your microphone when you are speaking. Once your items are completed, you may leave the meeting, or in this case, you'll probably want to stay till the end. If you're also watching the live stream and have unmuted your microphone to speak, please close the live stream browser, as there will be an audio feedback that cannot, or that will cause a delay and echo effect. Our outline for this evening, first up will be staff presenting the information for this evening, and then we will have questions or comments from council. The floor will then be opened, and I will allow anyone to speak to the proposed bylaw. I'm going to ask that everyone please be respectful. We're here to listen to everyone's opinion, whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you have comments on either side, but please be respectful for everyone's comment. This is a public meeting, and everyone is allowed to speak and to give their opinion, and they shouldn't feel intimidated that they can't come up to the podium and express their views. So let's keep it respectful. We want to hear what everyone has to say, and we'll take the time to do that. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to staff. We have a bit of a presentation and an outline from staff. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the public, my name is Steve White. I'm the Chief Building Official in the Municipality of Trent Hills and also the Manager of Bylaw Services. So a lot of people have made their comments. I've read all comments that have come through, whether through our portal or directly to me through phone calls. So there's probably a number of people I have talked to about this subject. Liz Stillman in Planning Department, she'll be assisting me with the PowerPoint presentation. So as you can see, this is a consideration for a bylaw in the Municipality of Trent Hills. We want to hear your public comments. It's at the infancy stage right at this point in time, and no decision will be made at this meeting. This is just for council to have an idea of what the general public would like to see. A new bylaw regulating the discharge of the firearms has not been drafted at this time. Council is seeking the public input and considered whether to proceed with the creation of a new bylaw. That's it. The current bylaw right now we have is for the urban limits of the town of Campbellford. And that was adopted pre-amalgamation, before Trent Hills even existed. So it's a very old bylaw. Council is seeking the input regarding the expansion of the current prohibitions. The urban limits of the village of Warkworth and the village of Hastings would be added to ensure that the restrictions are the same as Campbellford. Those are identified as urban towns. We want to make sure they're restricted the same as Campbellford. However, consideration would be given to including prohibiting to more densely developed rural areas such as the village of Trent River, the hamlet of Norham, residential shoreline developments where the homes are approximately 100 feet apart. Again, just so you understand, these are just suggestions at this point in time. No pen has been put to paper on this. Consideration would also be given to include a prohibiting a small rural parcels under certain size within specific setbacks to residential dwellings. This is an example, only an example. It could be a 1 hectare lot or 150 meters from a residential property. Presently, right now, conservation does not regulate any restriction on the distance from a residential neighborhood or a residential home that you can hunt. Right now, there is no restriction on that. I have talked to conservation officers about this. They come back and say that that would be under a municipal bylaw if we wanted to restrict it. Discharge near public roads, vehicular traffic, right away, prohibits of loaded firearms within 8 meters. That's already in the Act. That's identified in Northumberland County. The discharge or the carrying of a loaded firearms within 8 meters of a public right of way. Okay? That's already there, so that's in place. We're not going to deal with that. If a bylaw is considered by council, it will be specific exemptions, the ability to protect property or from nuisance wildlife. That is already in the Act as well. So if you're speaking to that, that's something we're not going to touch. So if you're a farmer and you're worried about coyotes, predation of your livestock, you have the right to protect your livestock. You have the right to protect your crops. You have the right to do that. That's under the provincial law right now, and we're not going to touch that. Henceforth, all federal and provincial laws will be maintained. They're there. They're well governed, and we're not trying to stop that. We're not trying to stop hunting. Hunting will not change in the Municipality of Trent Hills under that general law. The only thing is we're looking at a bylaw to restrict it, or not restrict hunting, but firearms in these densely urbanized areas. Hunting will still be permitted. Summary of concerns from the public comments received. And these were the comments that were given to us probably about a month ago when we first brought it out. I know there's been a number of people have commented within the last 2 weeks. I'm sorry. Some of those comments were able to bring them to council, but the ones that came in within the last couple days, I got quite a few of them. I'm sorry we couldn't get them to council because the agenda was already there. A lot of those comments were repeated, the same as other people had already commented previous to you. We do have it. Hunting and shooting, common pastime, part of our rural community. We don't want to change that. That's not what we're talking about here. Hunting and shooting are already highly regulated. They are. The conservation authorities, they regulate that, and we do have hunters that are practicing safe hunting practices in Trent Hills. Existing federal and provincial laws, they're there. Non-restrictive firearms can be used on private property with the owner's permission. That's true. We can do that. You can get permission from a landowner, go on his property, and they'll practice proper hunting. You have a possession. You're going to have your possession acquisition license. It's already regulated. The government knows everything about you when you're going to get your hunting license. When we talk about the Camelford Pistol and Revolver Club, we're not regulating that. That is all under that regulation. It's already been taken care of for us. This is just a bylaw or the creation of a bylaw or public input to see we're looking at these densely populated areas. That's all it's about. So I just wanted to make sure we're clear on that, because we got a number of speakers that people want to come to the podium and talk. So if it's new information or something that you would like to have question that we haven't addressed here, by all means. But if it's been addressed, we're looking into that. We've already addressed that. Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Steve, for the presentation. I'll turn it over to council for questions and comments before I open it to the floor. Does council have anything at this time? We'll also be going back. All right. We don't have anything at this time. So what we're going to do, I'm going to open the floor up to anyone that would like to speak. Like I said, we're going to be at the podium. You'll need to state your name, your address, and if you want to form a line behind the podium, that will be the easiest for this evening to be able to get everything through. Want to listen to everyone's comments, but let's keep repetitive to a little bit of a minimum. Let's not drag on to a lot of repetitiveness, but definitely state your thoughts and your opinions. So at this time, if anyone wants to go up to the podium, then we'll start the public part. Just, so do you two mind just going to the other wall so you're just not standing directly behind staff there? That would be great. Just the other wall is a little more clear there. Thanks, Joe.
Sure. Unfortunately, your halls are full. We can't hear out there.
All right. If you want to just state your name and your address, and then you can go ahead.
Kevin and Catherine Campbellford. Your Worship, councillors, staff, we'd like to thank you for setting up this meeting and allow input to this proposed bylaw. And addition to that, thank you all for your service to the municipality. My wife, Catherine, and myself are residents of the Municipality of Trent Hills. We live and carry out a small farm operation on property that was purchased by our family in 1862. Our grandchildren represent seventh generation in the community. Firearms, hunting, and sport shooting is a part of our daily life and is an important part of our heritage. This could be said for many Trent Hills residents, as we are sure you will become aware of at this public meeting. We are both vehemently opposed to any municipal bylaw that would cause further limits or restrictions to the existing rights of law-abiding firearm owners and hunters in our community. Hunters, sport shooters, and law-abiding firearm owners are thoroughly vetted and must demonstrate competency and knowledge in the use of firearms and game laws in order to obtain firearms and/or hunting licenses. Federal laws are very explicit in how firearms are purchased, used, transported, and stored. Provincial legislation defines and oversees hunting and game laws. Provincial police, RCMP, Provincial Ministry of Natural Resources conservation officers possess the training and knowledge required to enforce these laws and ensure all facets of firearm ownership and use are carried out safely and lawfully. Now, enter a handful of Trent Hills residents that have petitioned council to stop the lawful hunting activities that have been carried out in this area for the last 2 centuries. By their own submission, 22 different agencies were contacted, and not one of these agencies would agree that the hunting activities and gun use carried out in the area was unsafe. So, what this really comes down to is the noise of a firearm being discharged, combined with the unjustified and perceived danger that is now too often imagined when those not familiar with firearms see them. The next step in the process now sees the municipality jumping on the bandwagon, kowtowing to a minority of complainers and drafting a firearms bylaw, and by the way, I did see a draft of a firearms bylaw, in order to alleviate a perceived threat of danger, The fact that the municipality has the authority through provincial legislation to draft bylaws restricting the discharge of firearms seems to be the precipitating factor that got the ball rolling. Like other municipalities are doing it, maybe we should do it too. I'm sure that's what you discussed. The question really should be, do we need this? Do we need this bylaw? The problem as we see it is that this bylaw will do absolutely nothing to increase the safety of any Trent Hills resident, and at the same time will eliminate or restrict the rights of law-abiding hunters and firearm owners. It is interesting to note that one of the petitioners lists 17 gun-related incidents in Canada and the US as supporting the need for this bylaw. When you look at the examples that they presented, none of them would have definitively been prevented had this proposed bylaw been in effect. For example, they quote, man shot by crossbow when it actually disengages. Now, what would this bylaw do for anything like that? Or a man dies after tripping and shooting himself. Yeah, the bylaw is really going to help out in that. The Municipality of Trent Hills already has tax rates that are higher than adjoining municipalities. Adding another unneeded bylaw will only add additional burden to taxpayers brought about by the training required, enforcement of this bylaw, and clerical requirements. Provincial and federal laws and knowledgeable enforcement agencies are already in place to deal with the safe use of firearms and hunting activities. In short, we don't need this bylaw. It will just be another burden to the taxpayers of Trent Hills. Therefore, we respectfully request that Trent Hills Council do the right thing and immediately drop the development of this unnecessary firearms bylaw that is targeting law-abiding firearms owners and hunters in our community. We also respectfully request that Trent Hills Council recognize and acknowledge existing federal and provincial firearm and hunting legislation and enforcement as adequate for the residents and for the Municipality of Trent Hills. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Curls. Next, if you would just name and your address, and go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. My name is Brian McRae, and I'm the Director of Government Affairs Canada for Delta Waterfowl. I'm a resident of Hastings and have been a proud member of the Trent Hills Fire Department Station 2 for almost 6 years. I'm a licensed trapper and provincial trapping instructor, and I've been personally engaged in nearly 70 different municipal discharge of firearm bylaw reviews over Ontario over the last 15 years. I feel I'm very well qualified to speak on this topic, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk on behalf of our local members and donors, many of them who are here tonight, including representatives from our newly formed Trent River Delta Waterfowl chapter. For some background, Delta Waterfowl is the largest organization in North America dedicated to ducks and duck hunters. Founded at the famed Delta Marsh in Manitoba in 1911, Delta Waterfowl is guided by 4 distinctive and important pillars: habitat conservation, duck production, research, and Hunt R3. We work to produce ducks through intensive management programs and conservation of breeding duck habitat in the prairie pothole regions of the United States and Canada. We also conduct vital research and promote and protect the continuing tradition of waterfowl hunting across North America, including here in Trent Hills. Our mission is simple: to produce ducks and secure the future of waterfowling. We are the Duck Hunters organization. While our focus is on waterfowl, we are supportive of the hunting community at large. We have a long history of successfully working with municipalities from across Ontario, both urban and rural, on a variety of topics, including the topic we are all here for tonight, the proposed discharge of firearms bylaw. Delta's expertise and experience, coupled with our approach of having good, sound conversations with all willing parties, have helped pave the way to positive outcomes. Through education and outreach, we pride ourselves in being a reputable and reliable resource to not only waterfowl hunters, but to all levels of government. As you can see by the turnout, the purpose of tonight's meeting has struck a nerve with a massive percentage of your constituents. Ironically, we are here tonight discussing the potential creation of a discharge of firearms bylaw on the gunshot treaty lands of 1788, as it was so elegantly expressed in the formal territorial acknowledgement starting this meeting. Trent Hills is a very welcoming community. Like many municipalities across Ontario, Trent Hills has been experiencing urban sprawl, where urban residents relocate into traditional rural landscapes and often expect to have their norms follow. Despite recent growth, Trent Hills is still very much a rural community with deep roots of tradition and deep roots to our heritage activities. Section 119 of the Municipal Act provides the avenue for municipalities to enact, create, or amend a discharge of firearms bylaw. We're not here to dispute that. However, the provisions under Section 119 are very clear that there must be a public safety concern. Someone claiming public safety is very different from an actual public safety concern. It is our understanding that we are all here tonight because of several complaints originating from one resident with concerns about neighbor hunting ducks and geese over the Trent River. While I will never discount someone's personal concerns about firearms, hunting, or on any topic for that matter, we have found these discussions are often driven through personal feelings or perceptions about a topic rather than it being an actual public safety concern. I mentioned earlier that Delta Waterfowl strives to have good, sound, meaningful conversations, and that we pride ourselves on being reputable and a reliable resource. As such, here are some facts we are happy to share with you to assist in your decision. Hunting is a heritage activity recognized under provincial legislation passed in 2002 and federal legislation passed in 2014, now known as National Hunting, Trapping, and Fishing Heritage Day, celebrated on the third Saturday in September each year. There are approximately 470,000 licensed, trained, responsible hunters in Ontario who contribute millions of dollars each year to fish and wildlife programs, including the Special Purpose Account, which funds all fish and wildlife programs in the province from license revenues. Hunting with a firearm in Ontario requires the successful completion of 2 courses, one at the provincial level, your hunting certification, and one at the federal level, your firearms certification. Safety, whether for themselves or others, is instilled upon individuals from the start. The number of hunting accidents, which is virtually nil in Ontario, speaks to the tremendous safety aspects taught and carried forward by hunters. Hunting is also one of the safest recreational activities an individual can participate, despite claims to the contrary. As a direct result of the mandatory training required to hunt in Ontario, hunting accidents are almost non-existent. This is a fact. With approximately 470,000 licensed hunters in Ontario, the accident rate over a 5-year span from 2017 to 2022 is 0.0007%. It should be noted that that percentage is based on each licensed hunter only hunting one time through the entire hunting season. We know that there are millions of hunting days invested each year, so in fact, that percentage is quite a bit smaller. Information on hunter safety in Ontario was provided to us from the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. They keep track of these records each year. Hunting is also the backbone to proper wildlife management. It helps to reduce human-wildlife conflicts, helps to boost local economies, helps to decrease crop and livestock predation, and helps to increase public safety by reducing vehicle-animal car collisions. The purpose of these statements is to highlight some of the broader benefits of one of Canada's longest traditions. These examples are also just social benefits. There are several personal benefits to hunting, such as physical exercise, social interactions, and mental well-being, as well as an incredible source for the procurement of food. The purpose of those statements is to show that hunting is an extremely safe recreational activity, and therefore it does not fall under the pretenses of a public safety concern, which is the provision through Section 119 of the Municipal Act. On March 21st, 2024, the municipality released a notice of public meeting on their website to discuss the potential creation of a bylaw to regulate the discharge of firearms. In that notice, listed under exemptions, was a clause when lawfully hunting as per the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Act. Shortly thereafter, as in within the next 24 hours, the municipality released an amended notice of public meeting on their website, which had removed that same exemption. The actions taken to remove the exemption, which was the only change to that document, clearly indicates by the municipality's own admission that this has everything to do with hunting and little to do with public safety. And I ask, why was that clause removed? If someone is breaking the rules while hunting, they should be reported to the OMNRF and conservation officers. If someone is carelessly shooting a firearm, they should be reported to the OPP. There are reasons why we have enforcement at the provincial and federal levels, and the charges are very severe. To be clear, there are already avenues in place for enforcement. The authority provided through Section 119 of the Municipal Act is very clear. Hunting is not a public safety issue. Being disturbed by gunshots from someone hunting is not a public safety issue. A discharge of firearms bylaw in Trent Hills will absolutely, unjustifiably restrict hunting, trapping, and recreational shooting. Unless we have missed something, we ask the municipality, what deficiencies do you see in existing provincial and federal rules and regulation, which are already in place and enforced at both higher levels of government, that you feel the municipality of Trent Hills should be doing more? I want to recognize and appreciate your efforts to seek feedback on this very important topic. As we understand through conversation, this initiative is not council-driven. Clearly, we question the need for a discharge of firearms bylaw given the extensive rules and regulations already in place. We have several concerns with the proposed prohibitions and exemptions listed on the notice of consideration. We want to make sure council is aware that the onus to enforce any such bylaw will be at the feet and the expense of the municipality, as provincial conservation officers do not and will not enforce municipal bylaws. Does the municipality have the capacity and resources for that? As I'm fairly confident the bylaw department will not be responding to reports of gunshots. Should council choose to move forward with a bylaw, Delta Waterfowl would respectfully request the opportunity to be involved in the process given our extensive experience and expertise. As mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, I have personally been engaged in nearly 70 different discharge bylaw reviews in the last 15 years. I'm sure our friends at the OFAH, who also have extensive experience, would also like to be involved. We are here to advocate for our members, local hunters, trappers, recreational shooters, to make sure they aren't unnecessarily overly restricted without justification. However, we are also here to work with municipalities like Trent Hills to be a valuable resource. Delta Waterfowl is a leader in working with municipalities on files like this, and we would welcome the opportunity to further discuss this topic or answer any questions you might have, should it be required. Thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. And next, name and address, please.
My name is Tracey Wilson, and my address is, which is not in your jurisdiction. I'd like to start by thanking the Trent Hills Council for addressing this important issue in an open and transparent manner with your citizens, and to all of those who have taken the time to express their thoughts. I am not a citizen of your community, although I did live in this area growing up as a military family. And it is my honor to come and speak to you tonight. I'll keep it very short, in light of the many people who would like the opportunity to do the same. I'm the Vice President of Public Relations for the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. I represent 100,000 Canadians directly and millions indirectly who hunt, sport shoot, and collect firearms across the country, and right here in your beautiful township. I have testified as an expert witness at both the House of Commons and Senate committees in Ottawa. I work collaboratively with, with the RCMP West and with the Ontario Parole Board. We also held standing at the Mass Casualty Commission, the public inquiry into the Nova Scotia shooting. I am an expert in public safety. Hunting is critically important to the people who participate in it. Canada has enjoyed a rich, historic culture of safe firearms ownership, hunting, and conservation since before Confederation. It is a way of life for many people right here in Trent Hills Township and has been practiced safely and without issue for generations. Hunting is a Section 35 right for Indigenous peoples and is protected for all Canadians as part of our Canadian heritage in the House of Commons. I understand tonight's meeting is to discuss changes to the discharge of firearm bylaws in this area, a very serious issue that, despite what other people may say, would have an impact on the lifestyle and food source for many of your constituents. Hunting provides ethically sourced nutrition to families from a variety of renewable resources, including waterfowl. Hunting and firearms ownership is tightly regulated in Canada, as you know, and the results speak for themselves. Despite the objections of those opposed to hunting in this area, your own township record shows that there is no disproportionate risk to public safety. I ask Council to take into consideration the prospect of denying your citizens the ability to source healthy, affordable, self-sourced nutrition, especially during these strained economic times. These are not decisions that should be taken lightly or made on a whim of well-intentioned but misguided complaints. Your community is an example to the rest of Ontario and indeed all of Canada of what a healthy, family-oriented, successful rural community looks like. Please do not sacrifice tradition, heritage, safety, and the food source of your own people. Take the time to study this topic thoroughly, and I am confident you will find what we already know. Your community is full of responsible hunters who take great care in their craft. I'm thankful for the time you've provided me, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Tracey. Next up.
My name is Jackie Shute. I live at I have 114 acres farm that is very close to this bylaw that we're looking at here. It has nothing to do with hunting. It has more to do with discharging firearms close to houses. And that has been the root of the issue going on here. It is not stopping people from hunting and I have a hunting license, I have a small games license, and I'm also a licensed falconer. So I hunt. But the issue here is actually discharging firearms next to your house, basically, or in areas where there are a whole bunch of cottages that have now spread up the Trent River. So that's what the issue is. And I know firsthand that what the issue here is that one of the people that has a cottage several doors down was shooting geese over the rock area with the bear area where most hunters would never even have gone to hunt. And there's people living very, very close to these areas. When the police was called about this issue and about the fact that this person was discharging a firearm, they said there was nothing that they could do. And realistically, I'm not sure. I mean, you've got rock there that could be ricocheting, a bullet. And this is nothing to do with stopping people from hunting. It has to do with, can you hunt in a town or in a more of a populated area? And I support the decision, if you go ahead and do so, or creation of a bylaw that limits discharging or hunting within 100 or 150 meters of a home. And I think any reasonable hunter that is here would agree with that issue. It's not go out, hunt, I hunt myself, but it is the issue of hunting right next to other cottages or areas that any reasonable hunter would never have gone there to hunt in the first place. So thank you for your time. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jackie. And I'm going to thank everyone so far. So it's been very good that people have been able to come up and speak, and I want that to continue. So thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Zak Whittamore. I live at I run a website called Armalytics.ca, which gives the public a place to search the RCMP's firearms reference table. So I'm very familiar with firearms, and I follow closely the legislation that is passed and all that sort of stuff. And there's been a lot of great points made tonight, so I won't rehash that. But I do want to point out that I disagree greatly with the idea of putting strict limits on certain things, 300 meters, 2.5 acres, 150 meters from a dwelling. As a community, we should be able to give people the agency to make the decisions that they want to, as long as they're shooting firearms safely, which I know the vast majority of firearms, almost all firearms owners do that, right? So we need to allow them to make those decisions. Perhaps they're on 2 acres, but it's adjacent to agricultural land, and they have an agreement with the farmer that, they want to shoot a 22 at a backstop that's safe on the back of their property, despite the fact that their property is only 2 acres. Somebody might have a good grove of trees where turkeys come through. It might be 100 meters away from their house. There's nothing that should prevent them from shooting that if the direction they're shooting is safe. If they are not shooting in a safe direction, the criminal code already has the tools needed to prosecute that person with careless use of a firearm. And the section is 86.1 that can be looked at. So really it does come down to noise complaints, and I think that people generally are respectful of their neighbors. They won't go shooting every weekend if they're outside disturbing everybody. But and hunting is part of our heritage, and we need to be able to continue to pursue that, as well as sport shooting. So these are some of the concerns, and today it starts with a couple of rural settlement areas. Tomorrow it's all rural residential areas. It's the special rural residential areas. So it's a slippery slope, and I disagree with putting in place these very specific measurements and limits. I think we need to again give people the ability to make their own decisions so long as they're responsible, and I believe all the tools are in place to regulate firearms in the municipality without having to create a new bylaw. Thanks.
Thank you, Zach.
Hi, Christine Triard. I'm the one that caused the big mess, part of it, me and my neighbors. I just was surprised when I read all the 28 letters. It just seems that nobody gets what we're trying to say. We live in a, I didn't write anything down. We live about 30 houses in a row, houses that are 20, I can almost touch the house next to me, and this one. If this person sells their house and this person, they can hunt 3 months a year, 20 feet from my house, all the way down. I have nothing against hunting. All my neighbors hunt. Well, not all my neighbors beside me don't hunt, but I have a lot of friends that hunt. They hunt all over across the other side of the bridge. There's no problem. We don't care about noise, nothing. But we are concerned when people are hunting right here and right here. The houses are 20 feet apart, all the way down, 20, 30 feet apart. And it's crazy. And it started 2 years ago when we were woke up on Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving, 7:30 in the morning, 2 hunters in the yard, a couple doors down, shooting, well, 6 shots, because 2 guns. And I didn't know it was a new neighbor that just bought the house. And when at my first meeting with him, he was out in the water with a paddle with his little duck ear muff things on, had a paddle, and he was running around his bare feet trying to get a goose that he knocked down with a broken wing. It swam away. He couldn't get it. So he didn't have a boat. He didn't have a dog. He didn't have anything. All right, doesn't matter. But we are concerned with hunting beside houses. That's the only thing. Hunt anywhere, but not 20 feet from the house. And that's really what it is. So it's turned into something because somebody on Facebook have shared that there's no hunting in Trent Hills, which is ridiculous. There's always going to be hunting everywhere. So that's all we want. That's all we were concerned with. And I had sent a picture showing the row of houses, how close they were. And it would have been nice to see it up there, but yeah, that's all I have to say. But for the hunters that came, I think it's great that they all came. And if I was a hunter and somebody told me that they were going to stop hunting in Trent Hills, I would have been here yesterday. But that's not what's going on. It was just about the close houses. So hopefully somebody can help us with that. Other than that, I have no problems with hunting. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I'll take this moment to see if anyone on council has any comments or questions, and I'll go back to the podium. Nothing at this time. Do we have anyone else interested in coming to the podium? I know we've had some great speakers and some great opinions and some varied opinions, and I thank you for that. Yep, come right up. Just your name and your address, please.
Steve Jones. There is a few issues here about this bylaw for the size of the property. And like this lady was just saying here, those Ministry of Natural Resources, all of those bylaws are already in effect from the government already for this distance you have to be away from a house and all of that stuff. So stupid people are going to do stupid things no matter what laws you make. You won't change that, right? The size of the property. I had property here 40 years ago. So what this bylaw is going to do, if a turkey walks through my front lawn and it's less than the 2.46 acres, I'm not allowed to shoot it. And that's wrong. This is why this bylaw should not go through. So, and like I said, we've been out, we've been out here on that road there, and you should be allowed to shoot on it. Okay?
That's great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other call for, yep, come on right up. Just name and address, please.
Robert Goudreau. I've been a hunting guide in the area for about 30 years. And one of the things that really scared me and probably a lot of these people is that you removed the exemption for hunting in Trent Hills. So that puts up a big red flag. And there you mentioned also about the 8 meters that we can't shoot from the edge of a road. That's governed by the Ministry of Natural Resources conservation areas. You also mentioned further in that little note that trails and woodland trails and things like that, those are all able to be hunted on, so they shouldn't be affected by this at all. This is a restriction coming beyond what's already there, so that's way too much restriction on that. And then on the Trent River and the other rivers in the area, cottages have just kept coming and coming and coming, And we've had our waterfowl hunting spots for 2 decades, 3 decades, and now they're complaining, that they're saying you're too close or the noise. If they don't like it in the country, then they should go back to the city. I'm being respectful here. And so, yeah, these restrictions close to a home and such are way out of bounds. We should be able to discharge our own properties and be safe and follow the regulations that are already in place. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Robert. Yep, come on right up. And just name and address, please.
Daniel Colby. My wife and I recently moved to the area with our young son in February, and part of the decision to choose the area was the lack of firearms bylaws. We bought 52 acres, and the house sits about a third of the way up the property. So if you limit us to 100 meters, 150 meters, that means I can't hunt almost anywhere on my property. I can't target shoot and become a better hunter just about anywhere on my property. The safest place for me to shoot on my property is probably 75 meters from my house, where there's an old farmer's sand pit, which makes the ideal backstop to shoot a rifle. If I have to go 150 meters from my house, now I've got to go to the back of my property, and a stray bullet could be flying up over the river, landing on the other side. It's really not an ideal place for me to shoot my firearms. Another part of the law that concerned me was the 300 meters from a conservation area. Somebody who lives currently beside a conservation area, you've just stripped their right to hunt. Where do they go now? They've got 100 acres, 300 meters basically is a 100-acre lot wide. Where are they going to go now? Those are just my 2 concerns. I think it's very unnecessary. Everybody's very safe with their firearms. I hear people target shooting all the time on the weekends, and I kind of enjoy hearing it because we just moved from Cambridge, and if you heard gunshots around there, it was usually a bad thing. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Anyone else that would like to come? I have Councillor Giddings that would like to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I was wondering if maybe staff could comment on why that exemption was removed from the original bylaw that came out, and maybe help understand why that was part of it.
Through the chair, yeah, that was removed from the original one because it was already part of, it was given as examples. That notice to the public, there was a number of examples that were in there. What we're trying to do is highlight the fact that everything that's in the conservation authority there or through the provincial government or the federal government is not changing at all. So highlighting that or saying that, we just basically said this was trying to get it back to a minimum idea of a firearm safety restriction to the, not regulating any hunting whatsoever on it. That's all it was for.
Thank you, Steve. Did I see someone else wanting to come up? Yeah, anyone, if you want to just stand in line, it'll just move things along a little bit quicker. But anyone, come up to the podium and name and address. You're the first in line.
Perfect. Okay, my name's Robert Blair Anderson, and I'm part of the Campbellford Pistol Club. And just some questions, because we're all discussing this right now on safety. Am I allowed to ask questions because the members should be well-versed on this, or no, or make statements?
If you want to do an sort of an overview first, and then we'll see how questions go.
Okay, yeah. So the biggest one first is on safety, because that's what we're talking about. If this is a noise complaint, it's completely different. So on a safety basis, how many incidents or occurrences have happened where there's been a discharge of anybody sighting in their guns, loading their guns, doing guns on their property that have resulted in incident of harm or cause or bodily harm? Steve, you seem to be the one presenting this, so.
Through the chair, we have no records of any.
So
any
there's no
incident.
records of
We
this?
don't have any records at the municipality or through of discharging any firearms that we're aware of. at
That's
this time.
caused harm to anybody.
Yeah, that has caused harm to anybody, which we're going by the, we can get the data from the M&R.
Yeah.
But
So we're going to go probably with 0.
yeah, you could probably say that whatever data has been presented through the Conservation Authority that Brian has raised through his thing is what we're looking at. Those are the numbers you're looking at.
So then we also have bylaws already for noise complaint, and bylaw officers, police officers can take care of these offenses. We can't discharge by roads. We can't discharge by houses. So we're trying to make a new law that is already encompassed within the laws. But if we choose not to actually carry out those laws, then they're useless. So we're just making another useless law.
Through the chair, I believe I'm understanding what you're saying with that. With regard to that, the reason for this public meeting, again, I'm not going to argue about laws or anything like that. That's not my position to do that.
I understand, yeah.
All I'm going to say is that we're here to listen to the people. That's what council wants.
Yes.
That we've been given a direction to do this, to listen to people, and your comments
And
will be
that's why
taken.
I'm asking
And that's-
questions.
So I can't answer the question. I would just take your comments as record.
Yes.
Okay, for those things. I can't answer any questions at this time, but I will take your comments, and we are recording those comments to bring them forth so council can hear them.
Sounds good.
That's what we're looking at, okay?
And as a community, where's the lady who put the complaint through? There you are. I feel sorry for you. If you want to give out an address and have people come talk to your neighbors, we will. We will. Because I'm pretty sure that's all you're looking for in all of this. But, you can have discussions with people. And it's the same thing with road allowances and hospitalities and houses. There is restrictions on this already, and people need to speak to each other because you're obviously stressed.
I'm sorry. Can I come up and I can't say anything else?
Well, Robert, have you?
No, so I'm going to finish up on this. Every time you erode a right, you take another right away, you take more rights away. People moved out here, people live here for a reason, and they're leaving the cities. Steve, I'm not picking on you, but you're the one who put this forward, and everybody should recognize names. This stuff has to stop. Like, I'm sorry for cottagers and stuff. Everybody used to be community, but you can't even talk to community without fear of repercussions or somebody having a discussion with a neighbor. And we all need to go back to the mentality of how it was before, how it's always been, and take care of community. Another law is not going to solve this. Gun clubs are getting shut down left, right, or center. So now you want gun owners to go out and just shoot randomly into bush without being able to target practice, sight and guns, do their thing. Like, that's insane. And they keep removing it from us. You can disagree with it, agree with it. You can't get into any shooting club anymore. So you set your guns on your property to make sure you have a true sight. And if you're not allowed to do that on your properties anymore, which is in your bill, now you don't even know where stuff's going. It can be 20 meters off to the right or the left by the end of it because you're not allowed to actually set your guns in and do your proper due diligence on your property. And that's what we do. There's never been harm. There's never been anybody injured by it. This is horrible, horrible, and I feel for you. But at the end of the day, this is not the way to put it forward. This doesn't solve any problems, and it is an issue that's going to cause harm with people who actually hunt, do their stuff properly, and if we start enforcing the laws that are actually there, this will stop. This will stop. There's no need for any of this. Like, and I don't mean to be an asshole. Who's paid to be here right now? Put your hands up. Who's not being paid to be here right now?
I'm missing work.
You know, and this is the thing, and as a community, we all need to get back to this, understand it, grasp it, and we all have to care for the individuals involved in this too, but it doesn't have to be a law or a new bylaw or something else that's not enforced, might be enforced, and this has to stop.
Thank you, Brian.
Am I allowed?
Christine?
I've already been
Yeah.
here once. Can I? I'm sorry.
Yes, you may go ahead, Christine.
Okay. Like I said before, Christine Triad. Like I said before, where I live, like I know local hunters that were born here all their life and they hunt. And they've even been on the phone to the MNR with me going, what is going on here? We're in an area that there is no hunting. There never has been hunting. It's between lock 13 and 14. It's all houses and local hunters do not hunt there. They just don't, and they never have. But somebody moved 2 years ago from out of town. I'm not the city person either. I am not a city person. I've raised in the country on a farm with guns. And somebody moved in and they thought, wow, there's no bylaw. Wow, this is great. I can sit on my lawn and shoot right here. Okay, if this was just one guy here once in a while, he's opened up the whole door to anybody coming and shooting on both sides of us. And I'm not kidding, the houses are 20 feet apart. And that's what we're concerned about. But it's never been a hunting area. We're not taking hunting from somebody. Nobody would, a local hunter would not go there. They think it's a joke. My neighbor across the road from me, he hunts deer. He doesn't hunt geese. When that happened at the shooting, he was like, what's going on over there? He couldn't not believe it. He knew where it was coming from, but he was like, what? So that's all it is. It's too close. And anybody here that has kids or grandkids, I don't think you would let your kids outside in September to December to play outside if you had people shooting 20 feet away, 20, 30 feet away. What if I have them on both sides? It doesn't even make sense. So if you are sitting here thinking that you'd let your kids outside when that's going on, I can't do that. So that's it, but sorry to do that twice.
Thank you, Christine.
Okay.
And Tracey, because I gave Christine the opportunity, I will give you the opportunity, but
It'll be really, really quick. Tracy Wilson.
this is not a back and forth decision.
No, but my suggestion, and I, like Brian, I have also been traveling all over the province, attending dozens and dozens of meetings like this as well. And it sounds to me like it's not a bylaw for your entire municipality that you need. She needs somebody to go and talk to those neighbors, that's all.
Thank you, Tracy. Come on up. Yeah, just name and address, please, Joe.
My name is Joe Watson. I live. And my qualifications are, I put in 31 years for the OPP. I did everything from a radio dispatcher, constable, detective. I was the first detective appointed in Trent Hills, and for one of the first detectives in Northumberland County. When I retired, I taught firearm safety when they brought in the new regulations. I was qualified to teach hunter safety and test people, but due to my age, I've given those up. But what disturbs me about this, if this lady calls the...
Just a second, please, Joe. Guys, please take it after. We have to be respectful of those who want to speak, and if it's a private conversation, we can do that afterwards, okay? It's okay. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, what I see when I read this stuff in the paper, the OPP should be acting on this lady's complaint. This is up to you people. We elect you. It's time that you got a hold of the OPP and said, we expect you to do it. This is a provincial statute. And the Game and Fish Act is a provincial statute. And maybe you people don't know, maybe Jean does. At one time, we had a game warden living in Seymour Township by the name of Reg McCullough, now deceased. But this is up to the Game and Fish Act. They sit in their office in Peterborough. It's time that they get out here to Trent Hills. And I'm saying, throwing it back at you guys, it's up to you to get a hold of the police, the natural resources, and see that these people's complaints are acted upon. But the other thing is, you know, we didn't have all these houses on duck hunting property, and Napan Island is a good one. That was a real good place to duck hunt. And if they put in lots all the way along the water, you're going to get more complaints because that's where they hunt. But, you know, you can't expect to come out here and change the world. But anyway, I'm throwing it back at you guys. You guys should get a hold of the OPP and the game wardens and have them act. They shouldn't be telling people that's not our problem, it's the municipality. It's not the municipality's problem. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. We're, excuse me, we're 1 hour in. We've had some really good comments, some really good discussion, and I thank you, everyone, for being respectful. Do we have anyone else that would like to come up to the podium to speak? Yep, go ahead. Just name and address, please.
So my name is Ron Nelson. A lot of great comments. It's just too bad there's always somebody that does the sort of things that people complain about. I just wanted to add that when you guys throw this out there, all it does is set off alarm bells to anybody that hunts or sport shoots or target shoots, because of the way they've been treated by federal government, mainly over the last God knows how many years. We're the most heavily regulated, enforced, you name it. We have more rules and regulations than any other law-abiding group in this country. And every time the government says they're going to do something, it isn't long until they turn around. We're not going to ban your handguns. Oh, they take them away. You're not going to take your hunting rifles. Now they take some of them away. So it's too bad it had to come to this, but it's a lot of mistrust just because of the past history of it. And I guess I'm just saying that that's probably one of the reasons why there's so many people here, because they don't know what to expect when a law comes out. If it's just what it says it is, that's great, but it quite often turns into something else. So, at any rate, no disrespect to anybody, but that's just a comment.
Thank you, Ron. Go ahead.
Ian Rousel from... I think, unfortunately, this is one of those cases where you're trying to use a sledgehammer to put in a two-penny nail. It's a unique situation, and probably most of the hunters and the shooters here would agree that discharging a firearm right next to a house that is occupied by another is not something that should be done. However, because of the potential of this bylaw, discharge bylaw, I could probably give you a lot of different examples, but so many different things are going to fall into the category where you're prohibited from, for example, skeet shooting. A person who has a smaller lot, you don't really need a large property to shoot skeet or clay pigeon. I know one particular neighbor. His property is on one side of the road. On the other side of the road is a farm property where he has permission to shoot. He has a clay pigeon thrower on that side of the road. The equipment is within 150 meters of his own home. So that actually would prevent him, under this bylaw, to be able to continue to shoot on property that he has permission to shoot on. So there's probably so many different examples of that that would fall under this bylaw. That's really all I can say at this stage. As I say, it's like using a sledgehammer to put in a two-penny nail. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Go ahead. Name and address, please.
My name is Bob McAtuck. Born and raised right here in town. The way I'm hearing everything here, if there's a bylaw put in, it seems to me that the municipality is putting a burden on themselves. Most everything that has been discussed here tonight is in the hunting regulations for Ontario. There are restrictions on how close you can hunt to a building. There are restrictions how close you can hunt to a feeding area, to a conservation area. You're going to get a phone call that should go to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Farming. That's where the complaint should be going right now, if there's any infraction. If you put in a bylaw, then the town, the municipality bylaw officer is going to be responsible for that call. If you change the shooting distance from a house from 300 meters to 200, well, the ministry's going to say, hey, you made the change. So the onus is on you or your bylaw officer to look after that complaint. It won't be the ministry anymore. Read your sign up there. Come for a visit, stay for a lifestyle. Lifestyle in Campbellford is hunting.
Thank you, Bob. Another call. Anyone else wanting to speak at the podium? Yep. Just name and address, please.
Question for...
Just your name, please.
My name's Andrew, sorry. So, just picture we're all on the lake. I'm standing at my dock, and I'm shooting that direction at geese. How are you feeling threatened behind me in 2 other houses? I'm not pointing a gun at your house. I'm not firing at your house. How are you threatened? I've got the proper training, I got the proper license, and I'm doing what I'm allowed to do by right. Second of all, if you guys are going to ban that for somebody that owns on the water, then I recommend that council should give them a discount on their taxes, because that's why they bought the property on that water to do their hunting. Sorry, I disagree with all this. This is bullshit.
Thank you, Andrew. It's starting to dwindle the number of people coming up, so I'm going to do a bit of a last call. Anyone else that would like to come up and speak? We don't have anyone that joined us today virtually, so we don't need to worry about that. One last call for council. Any comments, opinions, questions? There's been a lot of discussion, and I thank you for that. Mayor Crate.
Go ahead, Mark. Thank you. Through you, Chair. I think a lot of great discussion tonight. It's interesting to learn a lot, and I have learned a lot tonight from the speakers. So I think that council has gained a great deal of information to go forward with and to look at this. I mean, I think we all have to realize that you know, there are different opinions, but I think coming here, and I appreciate, as the chair has said, how respectful everybody has been. It's been great to hear everybody speak and for them to be treated with respect as they do it. So thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll come back to the podium. Just your name and address, please.
My name is Mark Altos. I just have one point to make. This is all over hunting off of a piece of property over the water, like one gentleman said about shooting in one direction. If we impose this bylaw and then somebody decides that they're going to complain because somebody's fishing under their dock, is there really a difference? I don't believe there is. I mean, if somebody's sitting on their dock and they throw a line, the line breaks, the hook flies off the line and hits somebody in the eye, it's just as dangerous. Where does it stop? I mean, it's very cut and dried as far as I'm concerned. It's all in our law. We all are vetted we're being vetted right now. If any of us say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, any one of us can lose our license. It's very simple. And I don't know how many of you guys hunt, but I mean, you should look into it a little bit deeper. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor English.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to share the same sentiments as the mayor has tonight. I've learned an awful lot from this. I would like to thank each and every person that come up here and spoke tonight. I would like to thank you for your 33 letters, I believe, that was sent into the municipality. Thank you very much. It's been a real education for me, and thank you one and all.
Thank you, Councillor. Thanks everyone for coming out and again for speaking. It's not easy all the time to come up in a public setting and have your opinions voiced, but it was taken very appreciatively, and I thank you for that. And I hope that our further public meetings are as well attended and respectful as this one. So I do really thank you for that. And just officially, it is recommended we do now adjourn at 7:10 p.m. Moved by Councillor English, Councillor Giddings. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody.
This idea of what's happening to Canadian cities, what's happening, I shouldn't even just say cities. It's Canadian cities, towns, communities, villages, hamlets. All of them to some extent are dealing with this.
Well, I think that what we've got here is we've got 9 years of data on the Liberal policy on public safety. And unfortunately, it's been a tragic and bloody failure. So we see violent crime rates rising. At the same time, you've got a government that's been focused solely on targeting licensed RCMP vetted gun owners, and also simultaneously passing legislation that softens or lessens the crimes, the sentences for some very serious gun crimes like C5 and C75. This is a serious problem because when you have a government that is really tough on gun owners, but really soft on crime, I'm not trying to wear a tinfoil hat here, but it's almost like it's an intentional thing. Like they're going to use that increase in crime to continue with their ideological agenda against gun owners.